is a really fascinating one. Actually, you mentioned Charles Darwin there. I remember a few years ago going to, I think it was the British Museum, and seeing The Origin of Species, a copy of The Origin of Species. And it was actually saying the word evolution only made it into by the 8th edition of that book. It wasn't spoken of in the first 7 editions. So you could see like it was experimenting even within those different editions that were kind of going in the. So tell me, like, these to understand these difference between the experimental and the conceptual creative. How is their creative process different, especially in the planning or the execution of their ideas?
As I said, I started with this empirical result that some of these great painters did their most expensive work late in their lives, others early. And then the interesting puzzle is, what's the difference? And the advantage of studying painters is there's a tremendous amount of literature about them. People have always been fascinated by them. So I just started reading about them individually. And what I noticed was that these young geniuses and the old masters made their paintings differently. They actually physically made the paintings differently. The young geniuses would plan their paintings very carefully in advance. They would make preparatory drawings. They would make sketches. They wouldn't actually begin to apply paint to canvas until they knew exactly what they wanted the final result to look like. If you do an X-ray of a Raphael or a Picasso, you usually find a very precise preparatory drawing underneath that was usually transferred mechanically from paper to the canvas. And then they basically painted inside the lines. In Picasso, there's just one layer of paint. He knew what he was going to do. He did it. In contrast, the old masters specifically rejected preconception. They began painting without any preparation, exactly because they wanted to discover things as they worked. Very often, great experimental artists will describe their process as a dialogue between the artist and the work, right? And for example, Cézanne said, "I seek in painting." And Picasso in the next generation said, "I don't seek, I find."
I love, I love those quotes because it just showed perfectly the differences in those two different approaches.